Hey everyone, do you need to change a turn signal stock for your Grand Prix, particularly the 04 to 08 Grand Prix? Well, that's what we're going to cover here today. I'll show you how to take off the cover for the back part of the steering wheel there, take out the turn signal stock, put the new one in. This was recommended and requested by one of my subscribers, so this video is for you. On that, let's get right to it, shall we? So first thing first, you want to practice some safety. So you want to make sure you disconnect your battery before, and you're going to be kind of working around where the airbags are, and those airbags can explode with a lot of force if you accidentally trip something. So make sure you're disconnecting the battery itself, so you've got no power going through. After you disconnect it, at least give it about 15-20 minutes or so, just to make sure that any charge that could be in the system is dissipated, and then get right over to it. So what do you need to do this job? Well, that's all. So you'll need a flathead screwdriver and a cloth to wrap around the flathead. You'll need a 7mm bit of some sort. I mean, if you have let's say a screwdriver that has a 7mm on it already, sure, go ahead. Using a 7mm socket on a socket or something like that, that'll also work too. In this case here, I'm just going to use a 7mm on this screwdriver. You'll also need a T25 Torx bit. This is why I'm also using the screwdriver, because I can interchange the bits at the tips at the end. And then a 1/4-inch wrench. In this case, I'm using a ratcheting wrench. But even a regular wrench will work, but it'll just be a little more frustrating. Having the ratcheting one will work for you just fine. Alright, so as daunting a task as it may seem, you've got to take some of this off here to be able to take off your turn signal stock. But it's not that hard to do. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab here. Now I know I've got some extra gear here, but it's irrelevant. You're just going to grab here, grab the bottom, you're going to pull up. Now if you want, you could take these out, use a flathead and pull this off. This one you can just pull off right by hand. But I'll be honest with you, you just kind of pull this, it'll pop right out on its own. See? Out it flew. Now in this case here, you don't really have to disconnect anything. You just move it right aside and leave it like that, because you're really going to be working here. You just need to get access to the panel and stuff here. That's why you got to take this out. So next up, you've got to pull off the lower panel. So it's just held on with 2 screws, 7mm, one there and one right there. You also got to pull off the side panel here, because there's another 7mm screw there. Now this you can actually pull off by hand, but if you want to use a screwdriver, you can. Just like I showed you before, a screwdriver with a cloth wrapped around it, that'll do. But as you see, I could just put my hand right in here and lift and pull right out. And then you can see the screw is right there. You can use a drill as well. I'm just going to obviously do this by hand. I'm going to move down here and you can see. Sorry if I blocked the camera. It's pretty straightforward. Just go here. Screw number 1. Kind of tricky to reach that one. Okay, so once that's off now, you're just going to grab your hand right where, right down here, right above where the e-brake is, and just going to pull forward, and that'll lift right out. And there. And then you pull that right out. From here, you're just going to take this out right here. So you're just going to put your hand right here. There's 2 lips right here, right at the bottom part here. You're just going to lift up and pull that right out. There's a switch over here for your cluster light adjustment. Just a button over here you've got to press to take it off. Just lift it right off. Pull it out. Show you what I mean. This is the plug here, and you can see there's a notch. So when you just go in, you're just lifting that up and it pulls right off. If you need a screwdriver, you just put the screwdriver in and lift it up. But like I said, I just was able to do it with my finger, no problem. So this is where you want to be working with next. You're going to be opening this up and you're going to be splitting here and here. So all you really need to do is use that flathead once again with a cloth, or you can also use a trim tool or anything to separate that. And also, while you're doing this, you're going to be using this to move the steering wheel up and down, because you'll need that to kind of give you some extra leverage. Right now I'm going to put it all the way down here, put the flathead in. And again, you're doing this so you're using a cloth, so you're not going to damage the trim, because if you did this without, the metal blade will damage the plastic. This kind of gives it a soft kind of buffer, so it helps absorb some of the metal and the strength of the metal, so it doesn't bend the plastic as much. So you're just going to go in here, and I've already started splitting it, but I'll show you again once again. It's closed off here, so you're pressing on the lower part. So you're going to take the flat head, and you're going to push in on the lower part, and you're going to kind of get it in there and lift up, and it's going to start separating it. On the end, it's a notch. It's actually notched at the end. I'll show you when I take it off. So you can't just lift it all the way across. You actually have to lift and pull out. Just going to do the same thing on this side here. So once done, you just gotta kind of work it. And it's kind of hard to work around because there's a lip right over here where you have the lid. It kind of slides into the back of the steering wheel. So, and this is again why I said you need to disconnect the battery, because if you have the airbag and you accidentally trip something, guess what? It's hitting you right in the gut. Exactly. So you're gonna kind of put that up and out. And this is important for later actually. You can see here where it's got kind of a blade and a notch right over there. And that notch fits right into there after. So you've got to kind of slide it into that notch and then close it back down. But we'll get there when we need to. So next up, you've just got to take out the 2 bolts that hold it in. That's this one here. And one there, down there. This one's easy to get to, of course. But how do you get to that one? Well, you're just going to use your T25 Torx bit, and you're going to pull the top off. I'm just going to use the screwdriver and pull that one. But from down there, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch wrench, ratchet wrench actually. A regular wrench would work just the same. And I'm going to pull that off manually. It's a little harder, but at least you can get it done. Okay, so just going to put the Torx bit in, pull that one right out, nice and easy. Now for this lower one here, I'm just going to raise this up a little bit. By raising it up, it'll give me the chance to pull this down. Well, you simply can't pull it all the way down because you've got the notch here, but at least you can get it off and out from behind the steering wheel, so you get better access. So, see about if we could just get this piece off. There we go. Why keep it on? So in case you wanted to know, without damaging it here, it's through here, so I just kind of got it out from behind the steering wheel, turned it like this, and worked it out, so now I can get access. Why struggle with something, right? Gonna go ahead and put that Torx bit in. A lot of room to work with. That's quite all right. So get it in though. Ratcheting wrench. Put that right on there. Maybe able to give myself some more leverage. Going by the side here like this. Oops. It would be ideal if I could actually even get a small bit and a socket to work here, but the problem is there's not enough room between this and the steering wheel. So this is the best alternative I can come up with. Luckily they're not long screws, so that comes right out.
and this comes out here. So when you look at the bottom here, you'll see there's two plugs you have to take out. First one is down here, and that's with there's a little piece of plastic that clasps around the actual plug, so you're just going to pull that out. You may need a flathead with it. Try by hand here. Let's see. There. And then this one is also the same thing. There's a plug on the inside here. And then turn it right over. There's another one. One last one right over here. And this one's being a little more difficult. There. Okay, so now putting it back in is just the reverse. So we're set off with the first plug here. You want to make sure you line them up correctly as well. So let's see. This one goes here. Now they have notches to help you anyways. I'm just going to put that in. It should slide and click. And then bring that over. Same thing. Slide, click. And bring that over to the other plug over here. Slide and click. So you're just going to swing it right over. Bring it back. And you'll see there's a little kind of button here. So you got to make sure that button's pressed. It's sitting behind. So it sits behind the orange bit that's over there. From there, as you know, the top one is the harder one to do. So I say do that one next. So you're going to grab your Torx bit, screwdriver, line this right up here. Put your first screw in. It successfully. And you take your Torx bit. I'm going to tighten it right up. Don't go all the way, because in case you need to play around with this to give yourself some room to get the screw in here, especially since it's tight. So you don't want to tighten all the way, but you want to make sure that it's going to hold it in place while you use both hands to get the lower one in. So same thing as before. If you can work your hand in, it'll be brilliant. Try and get the screw in. Move it until you feel it get into the hole. Then I'm just going to take the bit without the ratchet or a wrench. I'm just going to go by hand. It's a little tricky, a little difficult to do, but that's the nature of this job. Okay. Well, I've got it in enough, and now I do need the ratchet, so ratchet wrench. Now, if you had noticed, well, actually, you will notice when you're doing this job. Whoops. Those screws are not very tight at all. So you basically go to half tight. To hand tight, and then just do another quarter to half turn. That's all you need, nothing more. Doesn't have to be overly tight. You don't have to torque the hell out of it, nothing like that. Also, when you're doing this, if you have it like this, it'll be infinitely harder because the bit will keep falling. So that's why I have it up to be doing this part here. Okay, so that's it. I reached hand tight. Just another quarter turn, that's all needed. And then we're going to go back to the top now. And tighten it up. Alright, so now you're going to get this back in, so it's just a matter of getting it first over this switch here. You want to be careful not to damage anything, not to damage the finish around here, and not to damage anything else. You're just going to get it, work it around. This part I find easiest to do if you have the steering wheel up. When it's down, it's much harder to work with, like this. So having it up like this, it gives you a lot of room and leverage to work with, working where you need to. Now you get it to a good spot, and you want to try and get it to sit kind of up like that. And you push it in. You'll feel it kind of click as you do, actually. And you'll notice it's kind of behind the rear trim of the steering wheel. So that's good there. So now you're going to want to drop it down. This part can be a little bit more frustrating, but still got to do it. So remember I told you about the notches, right? This is where it gets important, because you're going to want to slide this in on here, and you're going to be sliding it so it fits right into the 2 notches. One. 2. Always double check it. And then I'm going to bring it around here. Now, like I said, this is one of the more frustrating parts to do on the job. And actually, I find this maybe even the most frustrating part to do the whole job. Trying to get this to realign and click in properly to get everything in. This is not easy to work with, I'll tell you that right now. But it is possible. And now when you get those 2 kind of all lined up here, it's connected both in the back. Oh, you now have to deal with the hazard switch, so you're going to bring that over to the clicks through. And then you're going to kind of work this side here. This right here is a tricky part, because getting it back underneath the steering wheel. And once you get that part in, this part aligned. If all goes well, you should then have a very good finish, clean fit all the way around. And it should fit right behind the steering wheel, like that. Access to all your switches. No problem. So next up, you're just going to put in your cluster trim. Remember to plug this in over here, don't forget. You're going to line it up from the top first. And kind of bring it down, and then push the top in, and then the bottom in. And that's back together. So next you're going to put in the lower finisher. And that just goes in here. You'll see it starts from the top. So you'll see there's 2 clips. One here, one here. I'm not sure if you see those properly. You're just going to line that up and push in. It's going to click. And then you're just going to go underneath with a screwdriver and also one on the side. And your 7mm. Again, if you want to use a drill, by all means. So I'm just going to start with this one over here. Just don't over tighten. You can snap the clips and hold them in place. Sorry, I know I'm blocking you, but so 1, 2, 3, all to hand tight, no more. And then you're just going to grab this here, and this goes in sideways like this, so it fits behind the door. And then you kind of, clips, you'll see there's clips here. These clips have to line up with the openings behind it. Once one lines up, they should all. You just push in and it clips. Then you just got to grab this trim and put it back in. Since you didn't disconnect anything, nothing to reconnect, you just line it up from the top, clip it in, work it around, make sure everything clips, feel around to make sure of fitment, make sure the fitment's good, everything's nice and tight. And then you grab your little black trim thing and you put that in, and then you put your key holder trim, and from here all that's left to do is reconnect the battery and you're all set. That's it. So from there you should be able to then work your signal, no problem. You've got it changed and you're all ready to go. I hope this video has been very helpful for you. I want to thank you all, as always, for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you comment, have any questions or anything, feel free to do so. I answer it whenever I can. And of course, if you dislike, don't forget to comment on that too, just so I can make the video a little bit better. I want to make sure I'm putting out the best content possible. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video.